Are you wanting to try morning baskets with your homeschool, but you're not quite sure if it's going to work out? Or maybe you've already tried implementing morning baskets in your homeschool and you've come across some difficulties. Well, I'm Christy with Homeschooling in Progress, and in this video, I'm going to share with you some ways to overcome some of the common problems that come up in homeschooling families when they try to implement morning baskets. There are many ways to do morning baskets in your homeschool. And if you're brand new to morning baskets, you may want to check out the rest of my video series on what a morning basket is and how to create one, and just some other different ideas, some examples of some different months of morning baskets. You can check that out above in the rest of my morning basket series. Now, so if you are trying to implement morning baskets, but there are some things that are unique to your family that you aren't quite sure how to, kind of work around, I'm going to kind of go over some of the common ones that a lot of homeschooling families seem to have come up when they're doing morning baskets. One of those is a lot of homeschooling families can be on the larger side, and so there may be some large age gaps. Maybe you have some upper middle school, high school age children with some kindergarten age. Or maybe you just have some high school with some lower elementary. And so the things that are going to be what a high schooler might want to learn or be interested in is not maybe necessarily the same thing that your first grader might want to do. So how can you make that work? Well, there are a couple of different things you can do. One thing is just only include in your morning basket what everyone can do, even if it's just a prayer or Bible time. Morning baskets, the benefit of doing them is, one reason is to be able to do everything that your family can do together at the same time. But if you have a large age gap, there may not be a lot that overlaps there. And so another benefit to morning time is to be able to have that closeness and that relationship with your children. And that is what you're going to want to have when you have a large age gap. So even if you only get to do Bible time for your morning basket, you're still nurturing those relationships, and so it's worth it. So maybe you just do what everyone can do. Although you'd be surprised what those little kids can pick up. So maybe give artist study a try, or give a composer study a try. Maybe kind of pick a chapter book that kind of falls in between, the majority of the ages. So don't just give up on, thinking, oh, well, the age difference is too big, I'm not even going to try. Give it a try. You can always take it away if it doesn't work, but you might be nicely surprised. Another way to overcome that large age gap is to maybe have 2 morning baskets. So you have, especially if you have a larger family with many kids in one group and many kids in another, it may be easier just to have 2 separate morning times. Now that's double the work for mom, so that's kind of the give and take of that, but you can accommodate your older children by just doing their work together with an older children's morning basket, and then you can satisfy your younger children's needs through a morning basket just for them. So you can have them totally separate. Another idea there that kind of goes along with that is to maybe start with everyone together. Maybe start with that prayer or Bible time or a read aloud that everyone can enjoy. Then dismiss the older children to do their individual work, because I'm sure they probably have more of it than the younger kids do. So dismiss them for a while to get working on their own while you read picture books or play a game or sing songs with your younger children. And then you can always do an older children's morning basket later on, or maybe they just do the the thing that everyone can do. So hopefully that kind of gives you some ideas, if you have a larger family, to adapt the morning basket to your home. Another issue that kind of comes up, and we've had this problem in our homeschool also, is if your children wake up at different times. I have my early risers, and I have the kids who would sleep all day if I let them. And so the problem became that the early riser, by the time the younger one or the later risers were up, the early riser was, like, well, I've been up for hours now. I don't want to do this now. Or they'd want to start with their schoolwork and wouldn't want to stop. And so that gets to be a problem because, when do you start? Do you make your other kids wake up earlier? When do you start a morning time? So what I ended up doing was, there were a couple things that I've done throughout the years, depending on ages. But one thing that worked for a while was to let my early riser, maybe work on his math. It was something that, he's not super fond of math. And so it was something that he and I could work on together while everyone else was still sleeping. And we got it done. And then he knew that that was done for the day and we could start our morning time and then continue on with the rest of the lessons. So that worked for a while. Another idea that we have done is to send the early riser outside. My earliest riser is full of energy. And so sending him outside to his ninja line or just to run around in the backyard is a great way to kind of burn off some of that energy and then be ready for school when everyone else is awake. Or maybe you just do your morning time at lunchtime or make it an afternoon basket. It doesn't have to be first thing in the morning. A lot of families do like to do it first thing just so then it doesn't get pushed to the side. Oh, we don't have time, we'll just do it another day. But it certainly doesn't have to be first thing in the morning if that doesn't work for your family. Whenever you can fit it into your day best and whenever you're going to do it the most is where it is perfectly fit into your day. So, kind of work with some different ideas there on helping your early risers not, be done for the day by the time the later risers wake up to be able to fit that morning basket in. Another problem, again, we've also had this in our homeschool, is bad attitudes about morning basket. This sometimes tends to happen with older children, maybe perhaps teenage age. But I've also noticed that it does tend to happen also with a heavier workload. A lot of kids, and this is a positive, and it can also be a negative, a lot of kids don't see morning basket work as real work, which is good because they're really enjoying it, and so it doesn't feel like school to them. But on the downside, then they also feel that, well, I can move that to the side because I need to do my real work. And so I don't want to do morning basket. And so that's where you kind of get some of those bad attitudes from. So, there are some different ways you can work with that. One thing you may want to do is include the child who's a little more negative about it and include them and let them be involved in the morning basket. When I had a particular child who didn't want to do our read alouds, I let that child lead the read alouds, and that worked wonderfully because they got to be involved, and then the younger siblings got the nice benefit of having a sibling read to them instead of just mom all the time. So involve them a little more. Maybe let them help you with a little bit of the planning as to what artist do they want to study, or what kind of art would they like to do, or what poem or poet would they like to learn about. So kind of get them involved. Another idea, if that just really doesn't work and it's just a really, really bad, I just don't want to do this, maybe they just stay for a little bit of it and then you let them move on to do the rest of their work. Even if they're just there for that prayer or Bible time or a chapter of a read aloud or something, that's better than nothing. So maybe have them do the rest of the morning basket on their own, and you do it with the group, and then they do it on their own time along with the rest of their independent work. So again, not necessarily a negative because, I would rather not argue. I'd rather find a way to work it out. So even if it's not my ideal, if it works for the family, then that's always a positive. So then some other concerns might be, I really want to do morning basket. I love everything I've chosen, but I just can't seem to fit it in. And with that comes, sometimes you just have to, build your day around it, make a routine out of it. And I do have a video I'll share up above here that you may want to watch on creating a morning time routine, how to get it to fit into your day. us personally, along with, the different wake times and all of that, sometimes that is what keeps you from getting it started. And so what we ended up doing this year, which has worked out so well, I wish I would have done it 5 years ago. We start with a song and we have a little dance party. I planned to just do the song to have the kids know that it was time to start morning time when the song was over. But they loved it so much that now they run in when they see me going in there to make sure that they don't miss any seconds of the song. And so we all start with the dance party, and then we move right into our prayer time and the rest of our morning basket. So, maybe find something to anchor it on to get it started. Some families start with breakfast. Maybe you do it right after lunch or right after a certain subject. So however you want to, work it into your day, find something you do every day to fit it in there. And then it becomes such a habit that it's just something you do. And then another concern that you might have when beginning a morning basket is, what do I put in it? There are so many wonderful things. I suffer from that too, the fear of missing out. Well, I just read this family's doing this and this family's doing that, and those all sound great, and then your morning basket's 3 hours long. Which, if it works for your family, again, I'm a big fan of what works for your family is what you do. But if maybe your kids are like, whoa, that is way too much. Remember, you're not just homeschooling this year. You have your kids have a lot of years of school, so you can always kind of balance it out and spread the great information that you can share with them through many years of homeschooling instead of trying to just do it all in 1 year. Or, if the morning basket time, the group time seems to work pretty well, which for us, it does seem this year to work very well. I just have kind of grouped all of our together work into that morning basket time where it's not necessarily maybe what I consider our morning basket, but we kind of all do it at the same time together. And so, for us, it does kind of take almost all morning. And then after lunch is when the boys do their individual work. So again, what works for you is what you can do. But, just slowly add things for morning basket. I do have another video, I'll link that above also, that you may want to check out on good things to add to your morning basket. But just remember not to do, it all. Start little by little. See what works, see what doesn't work, and kind of go from there. So hopefully those ideas will give you some ideas to give you some ways to get started with your morning basket. Hopefully they'll kind of alleviate some of the problems you've been facing or some of the concerns you have while getting started. And know that, homeschooling is a learning curve. What works 1 year might not work the next. Your kids get a year older and you may add to your family and some go. So, what works 1 year may not work another. So just learn to be flexible. And it's okay if, you have to change some things. Nothing is set in stone. So do what works for your family and, just go from there and just enjoy the time you have with your kids, because that's what is really most important. All right, so I hope that gives you some ideas. If you want to make sure that you don't miss any future videos, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I do try to get videos out around on a weekly basis, so make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss any of them. I will put some links below in to let you know about some posts that you can read further on about the different morning basket ideas that I have shared here. So be sure to check that out. I thank you for watching. Good luck in your morning baskets and happy homeschooling.